Mounce, BBG, chapter 24, sentence 10, last sentence of the chapter. All right, what do we know? We're starting with they got a chi here, a chi here. You got a post-positive gar here. So we'll break up in the sentence into break it up into chunks. This is our first chunk, and then we see an accusative here. So that's probably your direct object. So you're going to say to arrest. Here gives you the infinitive, to arrest him. But what was to arrest him? And then you got this verb. So what do we see in the verb? We see an augment. We see that it's probably from zeteo. And as soon as I know that and I see the augment, I know that it is a present stem plus an augment, which equals the imperfect. So I know I'm dealing with an imperfect. I look at this new ending and I say that's either going to be first singular or third plural. So it's either from zeteo, it's either I was seeking to arrest him or they were seeking to arrest him. And if I go down through the rest of the sentence and I see these verbs, then I know that through the rest of the sentence you're dealing with third plurals. So if through the rest of the sentence I'm dealing with third plurals, this is more than likely a third plural as well. So we're going to go with, and they were seeking to arrest him for that first chunk. And then we go to the second chunk, and something, the crowd, right? So the crowd we see as a direct object, and we see that new, so it tells me accusative singular as well. It tells me, direct object. So then we go to this verb and we say, what do I know about this verb? I see an augment. I see this part of it that tells me, well, okay, that should be enough to tell me I'm looking at phabeomai, which is typically a deponent verb. So that's probably what we're going to expect here. But again, I've got the augment. Then I see this theta eta, and I tell myself, well, that's passive there. And I look at this and I say that's a third plural ending. So they if I were thinking about it as an aorist passive, they were feared, but no. Again, this is another deponent form, so just like phabeomai, it's going to be pretty much deponent across the board. So they feared is the way you're going to translate that. They feared the crowd, and that makes very good sense. In which case you need to come back to this chi and say, well, in English, would we really say, and they were seeking to kill him, and they were seeking to arrest him, and they feared the crowd? No, we'd probably translate this as but, to show that there's sort of like this whole thing going on in their head, that the fear, was stopping them from arresting him, is the idea. So, probably in terms of the idea of the sentence, you feel free to translate this as but no foul if you translate this as and as well. And they were seeking to arrest him, and they feared the crowd for, and then you have this verb. Hopefully you even just looking at this, you're dealing with gnosko, right? And if you look at this, you're dealing with third singular, just like you were here. For, and then if it's gnosko, but you've got the augment. So again, here you're dealing with an aorist. They knew. And aorist third plural, right? So for they knew, what did they know? Content of a cognition verb, right? So you've got a hati following a verb of cognition or communication. Here you got a cognition verb. They knew what? They knew that. And then you got to say, what did they know? And then the content of their thing is here, but you got you got this prepositional phrase here that Greek is often going to put in front, which is what we're going to do at the end. So they knew that he said, and hopefully you recognize this as an aorist, and Eckman, as soon as you see that epsilon, you know that it's third singular and comes from Lego if you're going to give the lexical form, because Lego goes to arrow in the future, which goes to apon in the aorist. But then with the epsilon, you've got a third singular. So he said, so for they knew that he said to them the parable, right? So we're gonna switch that around, because again, typically you could take that prepositional phrase and you can toss that to the very end after the verb. So if I go all the way back to the beginning and just walk all the way through, and they were seeking to arrest him, but they feared the crowd, for they knew that he said the parable. And here you got direct object because you see the new accusative singular. He said, or he spoke the parable to them.